And you know the expression, this is why we can't have nice things? If I hear one more word of criticism about Jalen Brunson, or the idea that somehow Jalen Brunson is the reason that the Knicks are not doing this and not doing that, I'm going to smash my head against a wall. Jalen Brunson has single-handedly dragged a very average team to the Eastern Conference Finals, and if they hadn't gotten as banged up as they did last year, this would be the second straight year they made the NBA's Final Four. I could go down the list of the other players on this team and their flaws, but if you watch them, you already know what they are. Between Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson and OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart, they're good players. Every one of them good players, but every one of them significantly flawed. They need one guy to be a star, a superstar. They need one guy to be genuinely brilliant, and night in and night out, Jalen Brunson has been that. And so now, when they've run into a team that is much deeper, and let's face it, much better, and Brunson is somehow not able to carry them over the top of that, we have decided it's his fault. That drives me nuts, and I'm not going to listen to any more of it. Who wants it? Who, you want to co-sign? You're in on that? Thank you, Nick. Okay,
I'm with you on that.
Talk to me.
I'm glad you said that, Greeny, because it has certainly been something that is percolating. And I think there's two things that you have to keep in mind. It is hard for a Tiger to turn over new stripes. While I acknowledge, and I think Jalen Brunson would acknowledge, he's not been able to play his best basketball. One, if you're honest and you're a basketball person, you have to give the Pacers their credit, particularly Aaron Nesmith, Andrew Nembhard. Those are the two that have defended him the most. He got you 51 games. He got you through the Detroit Pistons series. He got you through the Boston Celtics series. Yes, this Indiana Pacers series is challenging, but the idea that the Knicks can emerge and play a new style of basketball, I'm not talking about adjustments, Jay, and you get it. I get adjustments. But there is a character and there is a formula that has been successful to this point. It's easy, as we always say, to sit up quarterback after the fact and say, oh, get Jalen off the ball, he's got to pass the ball, wah. The personnel, you got to be honest about the personnel. And I don't think that he is the type of player or the type of person that if somebody was cooking, he would be holding on to the basketball. And that just is not, he has been the most consistent element of this season this year.
By a wide margin. We are the same show and the same collection of people who sit here and say, well, look what Anthony Edwards is up against. It's not his fault. How's he supposed to get a shot up? Every single team runs three different guys all night long at Jalen Brunson to wear him down. They put him in pick and roll all the time because he's undersized. He's battling his behind off out there as best he can, and he would give the ball up, but who is he giving it up to? If you were him, Jay, you're the point guard. You got the ball in your hands. You're him, and you're looking at your array of options, and I can either try and create a shot for myself, let's just be honest, or I can give it up to one of the people that are at his disposal. He won't say this, but I can. Which would you do? He's doing the right thing, which is trying to create a shot for himself. It's their best chance to score.
It is. I mean, you're not saying anything wrong. I do think there could be moments where you could play him off the ball and try to get him a little bit loose. So one of the things that's challenging about it, and you are right, Greeny, one thing that's hard about it is same thing that Anthony Edwards, right, or a Luka Doncic, is when everybody gears up because they know that's the play. Yeah. Right? Or they're like, hey, we're going to gap because we all see with the ball you're going ISO. It does then put in question some of the strategy, coaching-wise. Can you get him off the ball a little bit, create a little bit more freedom that opens him up, that gives him some room to breathe and really kind of creates a decoy?
Yes. Who would that secondary ball?
That's the thing. So then, Michael, this is the question then. Then that's on management.
Yeah.
Yes. This is roster construction.
The team is not. Yes, the team.
Roster construction.
The team went all in on Karl Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges, right? They've held on to these assets forever, right? Forever. And the people who know the Knicks know what I'm talking about. They've held on to these trade assets forever. And there were moments in time we thought, well, it's going to be Giannis, or it's going to be Embiid at one time, or it's going to be Kevin Durant. And it turns out to be Mikal Bridges, and they make the trade for Karl Anthony Towns. And those guys are both good, but they're not good enough. This is not the nucleus of a championship team.
Just be the contrarian for a second.
Go.
And I don't even disagree with the word you said, but I'm going to be the contrarian.
Go.
The Knicks are one insane ending away from being 2-2 in this series.
That's true.
Right.
Which means still home court advantage with all these flaws, Greeny, and you're right about that. But I wonder, in the case of Brunson, who's that other person? And we've got to this new question. Can Jalen Brunson be the best player on a team that actually reaches the NBA Finals? Mm-hmm. Well, he's pretty close to that now. I don't know the answer to that. If the answer is no, then who would that person be? But they are one insane ending in game one from being 2-2. And then I don't know how many, I don't know what conversation we're having then, or if they seem, Greeny, as flawed as we now think they are.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying Josh Allen will play the greatest game of his life. His team will lose in overtime, and the conversation after will be Josh Allen can't win the big one. And that always makes me insane. Josh Allen was the best player on the field. He's not the reason his team didn't win. Jalen Brunson, all I'm saying is Jalen Brunson is not the reason this team isn't on its way to the NBA Finals.
Agreed.
And to your point, Jay, if he's going to, who's he giving it up to? What they need is another legitimate scoring option, and Karl Anthony Towns far too frequently isn't that. He just isn't what he looks like he should be all of the time.
Well, to all the people that say, oh, well, he's a liability on defense, I'm like, well, when you're exerting all that energy to try to score each and every possession, and then you're going through the series of Detroit and then Boston, and now you're here at this one in another dogfight, of course that's the strategy of the team. They're going to attack you to take your legs away on the offensive end.
You know this team
because there's nobody else that can create.
Remind everyone, Monica does the radio for this team, so you see them night in, night out. I'm not asking you to criticize anybody or anything like that, but you have heard it.
Yep.
You have heard the talk in this city about Jalen Brunson suddenly questioning him in a variety of different ways, and personally, I think it is insane.
Yeah, I bristle at it every time it comes up because, and listen, we all have consumed a lot of basketball. The Pacers play fast. That's the base level. The thing about the Knicks is they don't actually want to play a slow plodding style of basketball, but them trying to play at the Pacers' pace has backfired, right? And so there's this middle ground. I'm not saying that Jalen Brunson can't get off the ball or he can't make the right pass. Like, he's an excellent basketball player. But the idea that he is to be blamed on this one, I have a really hard time stomaching that, right? Like, it is a collective team effort. I mean, you could say, and look, all of these guys are accountable, and so I don't think that this is like earth-shattering to say, but you could say, all right, look, OG and Mikal, y'all were brought to get past Boston, you did that. What are we saying now that you're struggling to stop Indiana's guys? Like, I think there's a lot of conversation.
There's so little conversation about that, relatively speaking. What are the Knicks going to do? Where do they load up defensively, Jay, Monica? So looking at the number of points the Pacers put up relatively easily some nights, except for one game in the series, what is Tibbs going to do tonight? Do you jump Halliburton? Does that work? Halliburton seems to have any number of ways he can play and adjust. And it's only been a quarter in which the Knicks thwarted that in Game 3. What do they do tonight?
The problem to me, Wilbon, as I've observed it, is there's just been a there has been a consistent lack of effective communication defensively. Your best defensive unit was guys that came off the bench that clearly are playing to prove their basketball career, whether they stay in a Knicks uniform or not. And so they're communicating on screens. They're making sure they're switching appropriately. They're getting into gaps in a way that you had not seen consistently from this team. It's the defense. But guess what? The defense has been a through line all season long.
Agreed. Just to tie it back to your point, Mike, because I think you're correct. I think Jalen Brunson's body is way different. And I'm somebody who's 6'2", 6'2.5", right? It's rare when you see players that size play his style of basketball that sustain his greatness throughout the course of a regular season and into the playoffs year after year after year. That's why I don't think he could be 1A. I think he could be 1A as a closer, but not 1A as somebody that keeps the Knicks knocking on the door to get back. You need to find somebody that is durable, that can play through the course of the season. The only player I know how to do it is AI or Steph, but both those guys played a very different style of basketball. This is the reason to call him Big Body Brunson. Yeah. He takes hits all the time. Like what's the durability of that long term?
He's like a linebacker.
That's what I'm saying.
And by the way, they're worn out.
Yeah. They're so tired.
Yeah. And it's the accumulation. It goes back to the Pistons series, which was a tough series. I know neither one of those two series went 7, but they went 6. And the Boston series, and now this. You look at them, just look at them when they're sitting there in postgame. They look worn out. You know why? Because they are. There's no more of a friend who's a scout at a very high level in the NBA who says, listen, called me the other day and said, there's no more elegant basketball.
Ooh, that's right.
Welcome back. That's a word. This is just survival, and the Knicks are the ones gasping for air in this series.
So sometimes the simplest answer is the best. They've run into a better team. And will you be sneaking back to the hotel so you can go back and forth between the games? That's the question.
I'd like to see this. I'm sort of emotionally invested. I want to see Connor McDavid. I want to see the best player in the world in the finals. So I'm interested in this, and they're playing without Hyman. They got some vulnerability, perhaps, Edmonton.
It's a good segue because the best player in the NBA is in the finals. Welcome back to Get Up. We're coming to you live about the Heineken River Deck at Pier 17. And that man, SGA, the MVP by TKO last night. OKC in an absolute laugher against Minnesota. I will not bother during the highlight trying to build drama because there was none. Jay Will, right from the jump, it was all thunder.
Yeah, this game was over in the first 10 minutes of it, and it just started with OKC's pressure on defense. They create so much havoc, and SGA, like we said before, very surgical in finding shooters on the perimeter.
SGA scored or assisted on 24 points in the first quarter. The Timberwolves as a team had 9. Now we're at 4 minutes to go in the second quarter, and Monica, SGA was just doing whatever he wanted.
Honestly, honestly, and I know you love all the letters, Greeny. True MVP fashion from SGA. Like, again, a pressure in the paint, continuing to get downhill, assisting, like, he's great.
And you want efficiency, Mr. Wilbon? 34 points for SGA on 25 shots.
I mean, he's found a sweet spot right now where literally nobody in the game is better. Nobody's as good as he's been in these playoffs lately. Once they got past Denver, Greeny, it's like it clicked and they understood, okay, here's what we now can do.
SGA is the Western Conference Finals MVP, and OKC is headed back to the championship round for the first time in 13 years, and their defense is the primary reason why, but SGA certainly deserving of all of the credit. He scored 30 or more in all 3 series-clinching wins in this postseason. If he does it again in the finals, that would set a new record. But look at the company he has already joined. I mean, you're talking about basketball royalty, LeBron, Steph, Kobe, Bird, and Mikan. And after the game, the MVP showing gratitude to those around him.
I want to thank my teammates. Without them, I'm nothing. Clear as day. I don't have 124 points by myself. I love these guys to death. Now, with all that being said, this is a step in the right direction, but we have a lot more work to do, and we know that, and that's what we're focused on. So let's buckle up and get ready.
So look, I mean, far be it from me, this is not about me, but if I were to have written his speech, I would have written literally every word he
hits all the right notes.
said. He
Yeah,
says
all the time.
All
All the time.
everything right. Job's not done. Give
All the
credit
time.
to your teammates.
All the time. Winning or losing, as opposed to we looked at the video from Ant-Man.
Right.
Not hitting all the right notes.
Correct.
Just
We're
not.
going to get to that, but let's start with the win man who was there last night to see it. Wendy, what are the right things to say about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and this OKC team that looks like it might be at the beginning of something special?
I got to tell you, in the first half of this game last night, Naz Reid and Julius Randle were in hell. They couldn't even stay on their feet. What the Thunder did to the Wolves, they brought them to their knees on the offensive end of the court. It was incredibly impressive, incredibly humbling for the Wolves, who are a very good team. And they really took their foot off the gas. If they wanted to, this score could have been anything that they wanted it to be. And that's not a criticism of Minnesota. That's just where this team is. They are playing their best basketball right now. And I'm just going to put it like this, since I'm out here in the Midwest and they know a little bit about steakhouses here. They got the table set. The Wagyu is there. The side dishes are ready. Everything that you need to make something really special happen is ready to go. They just got to cook the steak right, and they understand that. They understand that nothing is given. This is an organization that I was here 13 years ago, where they thought they were at the beginning of a long run, and then their plans went awry. So they appreciate what they've got, and they appreciate that there's still a lot more to do. It's very impressive to be around this team.
In those days, they had 3 young stars, right? And they had Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. The feel of this is totally different, right? We all remember those teams and covering them because they all felt like they were players, like they were going to be the guy, and that you can't have 3 of those on one team. In this case, at least at this stage of their development, it feels like each of them, the 3 great players with SGA and J. Will and Chet Holmgren, they all understand sort of where they fit into the scheme of this.
They understand who the alpha is. Not just understand it, they're fine with it. You can see that. You can see the way they interact with Shai. You can see the way they look at him. You can hear the answers to questions. I mean, Chet and J. Will's here, and J. Dub seem very, I hate to use the word content, but right now, and things can go awry, Greeny.
Yeah.
We see people, evolve and change. It doesn't look like those 3 guys are going to have that happen to them anytime soon. Let's put it that way.
They have, we're obviously going to talk about SGA, MVP. We'll talk about J-Dub and his performance, obviously Chet. But the pieces they have defensively are so interchangeable, there's nowhere to go. It's like a pillow over your face being suffocated. That's what all these guys experienced last night. That's why Anthony Edwards was minus 29. There was nowhere for him to go on the court. And when Lou Dort is picking you up full court, when he's turning you 3 or 4 times, when they can switch, and then Hartenstein, who can be long and tall on the perimeter, that's one of the reasons why historically the numbers prove that they're one of the best defensive teams we have in NBA history.
Yeah, and I would add to that, Jay. I mean, you look at the way Alex Caruso showed his versatility through not just this series, but even you go back to the Denver series, and he's the vet, right? He adds some of the experience from his championship run with the Lakers. I just think, to me, and Mark Dagnall said this to me, or to us rather. I had a game, they were in Milwaukee earlier this season, and he appreciated so much about the way those guys bought in before the lights and the attention came. Like, they have a system, they are content, they are present, whichever word you want to use. There's complete buy-in up and down the roster. Shea obviously is a tremendous leader, but he also talked about guys like Lou Dort, who was also a part of the formative years of what we're seeing now.
Yeah. Also, guys, Greeny, think about like the dominance we've seen from Jokic over the last several years. They had him in a spin cycle. He looked like he was in chaos, discombobulated. Right? Think about Julius Randle and the emergence we've seen from him this year and how he's kind of changed that reputation about himself. They exposed him. I mean, that's what they do.
Just think about how, if they win, if they close this out, think about the confidence they're going to have beyond this.
Oh, yeah.
Once you win that championship, look at what the great teams do once they win.
Wanna try to boast at what I look like. I'm gonna try to wear, pull up all brains. Jimmy with the heat, I'm on fire. It's NBA over here,